You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
What's up, the internet? It's Kyle. How you doing? This is In Stores This Week, a show where, well, me and Dan and Jay talk about books that are in stores this week, and those books are released tomorrow to comic book stores. I am completely out of it, just so you know. I'm getting ready for convention. I'm actually getting ready for two conventions, one of which I didn't even know about until today. And they're both like tomorrow, basically. I don't know. Anyway, so we should probably do the show now where those guys can talk and I can just sit here quietly and suck my thumb.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
So before we get started, I have to show this off. We got something in the mail yesterday. It's a book from Dynamite that was a Kickstarter. This is Karma.
Yes.
Now, the significance of this book, let me crack
There's
this
a lot
open.
of porn in that book, right?
Yeah, be careful which pages you show.
Well, I'm not going to show the pages. So this is the artist on this was Carlos Reno. The colorist was Marcio Ferrer, I hope, and IHQ Studios. The letterer was Carlos M. Manguel of Social Myth Studios. And would you look at that? The writer was Mr. Dan
Some
Wickline.
schmuck who has to work with us. Yeah.
Dan Wickline. We heard you talking about this. Beautiful hardcover.
Where's my copy, Wickline?
I don't have a copy.
Well, my copy is probably somewhere in transit from Dynamite to you, so you can write your name in it and then send it back to Dynamite so they can send it to me.
The signed ones have not come in yet. I have already signed all the tip-in plates for them. So they went back, but the unsigned ones went out. So, but they're still waiting to get the signed ones in to ship out. So.
Right. That's probably where mine is because I opted for a Dan. I've been working with the guy for like a year and a half now, and I don't have his autograph. So I opted for that version of the Kickstarter.
Super excited it came in. Can't wait to read it.
Yeah, I had two stacks about that big of tip-in plates I had to sign. So I'm sitting there over 2 nights going, you know. And I don't think the signature looked the same on 2 of them. You know?
And once your hand starts to cramp up, it just becomes more of a scribble.
Yep.
Well,
my
that's
signature,
a D and that's a W. Close enough.
I mean, I have my legal signature I do with my full name, and then I have my writing signature. And it's gotten to the point, I borrowed this from my dad, who, with the name Wickline, you do a W, you put like a little tiny hump, a big hump, and then a line, and just put 2 dots.
When I first got into radio, they're like, learn to sign your name so people can't read it. Because if they can read it, they're going to ask you for stuff. Right? They're going to want concert tickets or T-shirts or something. So you learn to sign your name so people can't read it. Well, then I forgot how to sign my name any other way. So I went one year to vote, and they're like, you can't vote because your signatures don't match. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So I had to go through this big, long form in this process of changing my legal signature to the signature that was originally my just scribble something so people think they're getting an autograph signature.
Yeah. So I also have to remember which hand to sign with.
Yeah.
Because I can write left-handed and I can sign left-handed, but it looks very different. And if I'm not thinking, I just grab the pen with whatever hand is close. And
I did a Marvel variant, Marvel's Greatest Creators variant with Arvell Jones. and we did a private signing of these books. And Arvel is ambidextrous, and so he's got a Sharpie in both hands, signing like this. Wow. And they look identical. And it's just the wildest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm not that good. So I was back when I was a programmer. I remember a meeting we were all in, and I was up on the whiteboard, and I was writing out these things, and then something else popped in my head, and I just grabbed another pen and started doing that, and just everybody in the room was like, "Oh yeah, I'll stop that. Sorry."
Right. So this week we had a conversation earlier about how this week between the three of us, only one of us really was prepared.
No. I've read all the books between my show and this show. 11 books,
right.
2 hours.
That was where I was headed, is how prepared are we now as a group? Because I skimmed all the books. So,
I definitely have some favorites.
As I would have liked. Yeah,
I definitely have some favorites. One of my favorites surprised me because I didn't realize how good it would be. I was surprised. I'm like, damn, this is really good. So
I had a couple like that too.
Let's just get into it, shall we?
By the way, hello, Richard, JD, Sean, Nick,
yes.
Cool Gamer.
Nick, Jay has his copy of Karma and I don't. Where's mine? It's funny. It just occurred to me. I had emailed Rex at Dynamite today because I got a shipping notification from Dynamite, and I'm going. I wasn't expecting anything from any of the comic collectibles show, so I wonder if that, So I emailed him going, "Hey man, just hoping like your stamps.com didn't get hacked or something. You didn't send me somebody else's thing by accident. Yeah. I wonder if it's not my Kickstarter." I did, Nick, but that's like, it's just, we're more or less making a joke because Jay got one and I didn't.
Yeah, Nick, I was explaining that the signed books are running late.
Even though I've read it. Good. I read it for this show once, it's cool. It's more or less a joke. Signed ones are just going out. I bet you $100. I emailed Rex going, "Hey man, I think someone made a mistake, and it's just my Kickstarter that I forgot I was getting." Sorry, Rex.
Yeah, I think they're just mailing out some books to me, so I haven't had a chance to see it in print. So
it looks really good, Dan. It really does.
I'm glad. I'm really glad. Yeah, I saw somebody post online they had gotten their copy and was talking it up, and I'm like, cool. She referred to it as a cross between Sunstone and Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. That's
yeah, except that there are parts of your book, Dan, that make Eyes Wide Shut look like a Mary Knoll Nun convention. Like, Jay, you have to read it by next week. And we'll review it next week on the show.
Okay.
I might have to abstain from reviewing that book.
Right, yeah, you just sit there, stick your fingers in yours and go, oh, so you don't
I abstain copiously.
Right. So you don't hear us say good things about you.
I don't take compliments well, so if you're gonna rip it apart, I'll stick around.
Right. No, it's of the books by Dan Wickline published by Dynamite called Karma that I've read, this one's clearly the worst. All right, let's get started, and we'll start here with someone who's had a weird experience with magic carpet rides, and this is Grim Fairy Tales Jasmine.
Mm-hmm.
And I promised myself that I was going to open these things up, and then I forgot to do that. So, Jay, why don't you start?
Okay. Again, this is a new one for me. I'm not familiar with this version of Jasmine. it definitely flips the Aladdin tale on its head, with Jasmine actually being the street thief. Um, it's very interesting that it feels like, without giving too much away, it's Jasmine for Aladdin, so obviously there's genies somewhere in there. It feels like the rule of three does not exist in this universe by things that happen during the story. Um, there was one character in here that the name was so on the nose, I couldn't actually believe they used it. There was a character named Terrain. Uh, this was a pretty standard Zenoscope story. While good, it still feels like any female protagonist with magic, this could have been their story. But, it was still a good read, so I'll give it that. Great art.
I got to play a little bit with Aladdin's lamp when I was writing Sinbad, so I'm curious how this is. I hadn't seen this character before either, but it's been a few years since I've written for the main Zenoscope universe, and I agree with you on. I'm curious how much they've changed the Aladdin story, but I agree with you that it really does feel in a lot of ways like the characters are kind of interchangeable. We talked about this a little while ago. There really isn't. They all seem to be somewhat smart-ass, adventured. It's this could have been Belle. This could have been any of them, and it was a pretty straightforward. Yeah, Terran. Calling her Terran was pretty much on the nose.
Yeah.
But then I created an Earth-based character in that universe called Terra Mortis. So, yeah. So, I get it, but there was kind of a unique thing with the different towers I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But overall, and it's funny when you're going through and you're reading it, and the art changes. Because every once in a while, there's like this level of art, and then every once in a while you'll come across somebody who's like, boom, and you're like, oh wow, these pages are and then it's gone again.
Yeah, very inconsistent.
Yeah, so it's an interesting read, but it's not great. It's an average Zenoscope book. If you're a Zenoscope fan, you're going to get exactly what you expect.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to be able to add a lot to some of this, but that's the thing that was my takeaway from this book, right? Is I'm not a big fan of flipping the Aladdin story on its head in any realm because, well, that requires me to think more about it than, Robin Williams as the genie.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to do that. I want Robin Williams to be the genie, or I want to be the genie in the Broadway musical version of the Disney movie. But the big thing, and I went back and looked at a couple of other Zenoscope books that I've picked up in recent weeks. The art fluctuation is really becoming problematic. Because it's always been Zenoscope covers are what Zenoscope covers are. They're this thing. And then Zenoscope's interiors have always been top quality. But what it feels like is it's like, well, we're going to do top quality 70% of the time. And the other 30% is still great, but not right. So that's kind of been my takeaway, especially the last few Zenoscope books we've done. So
yeah. I think the problem is that they're doing these bigger books, one shots, and they don't have the ability to have an artist do the whole book. So that's why you're getting 3, 4, 5 artists on a single title, because they're still keeping their normal shipping schedule and stuff, but they're doing it on bigger books.
right? They're having to split the workload as opposed to letting one person carry it. And
Yeah.
to me, that's a problem. All right.
Yeah.
So next book up is a book that I'm really excited to read, and I will be reading tonight. I just didn't get a chance to really dig into it, but my scan of it left me going, well, holy hell, I'm very excited. This is Elvira in Horrorland. This cover though.
I had
Ken.
to.
Yeah. This is I was telling you guys beforehand, there was a book I really liked and didn't expect to. This is it.
Yeah.
I've been following the Vincent Price one, stuff like that. This picks up from the Vincent Price miniseries, or Elvira meets Vincent Price, but it's the continuation. I hadn't noticed before. She talks to the creative team in this. That was fantastic, and I know David Avalon, so for her to call him out on his writing and stuff, it's like it was awesome.
And that was one of the things that John was talking about on Comic Collectibles yesterday, right? Like Cassandra Peterson, who is Elvira, is friends with David Avalon.
Yeah.
So she actually IRL talks to the creative team. So all he's doing is taking that and putting it into the book.
Mm-hmm.
Smart.
Oh yeah, it's like when she realizes they're in black and white, she's like, "And why would they fire Walter? He's great." And they're talking about the colorist. She name drops the colorist. But yeah, David and her are good friends. They talk, they plan out these things, which is great. And David has his own podcast, by the way, where he talks about a bunch of pulp fiction books. His dad was a pulp fiction writer, a pulp novel writer. So definitely check out David Avalon. He's a great guy. But this is a great story. Hitchcock fans are definitely going to want to check this out. Obviously, we're going into Stanley Kubrick on the next one. So she's kind of dancing her way through classic horror movies and starting with Psycho. And it's awesome because she's just, the plot and stuff in Psycho, some of the behind the scenes stuff that she mentions just shows how good David knows the industry and the behind the scenes stuff. On my Facebook page, I do Friday Ford, I do Harrison Ford posts and Michael Caine posts. I used to do Sean Connery, and David is popping on every once in a while and adding some backstory that I don't know, which is great. And all that comes to light here. David's the perfect writer for this book, and it's really fun. So.
Yeah. I love Cassandra Peterson. I've loved Elvira since I was a kid and as an adult. I had Mistress of the Dark on VHS. I watched that thing I don't know how many times. This comic did not disappoint me in the slightest. The gags, Elvira's witty one-liners. This is stuff that I picture her that if this was a show, Cassandra Peterson, Elvira herself would say these things. I'm excited for this series, and I really hope after Coop, I hope we get through a whole lot of classic horror shows before this series comes to an end, because it's such a great first issue. I had a blast reading it.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious which horror movies he's going to go through.
Yeah.
I would love to see this book crossover with David Desmelchin's Midnight Monster.
Yeah.
Count Crowley.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Nick, if you're still in the comments, let's make it happen. Next up, Firefly number 4. This is a variant cover. This is an Ethan Young cover. But this is the continuation of you have Kaylee is the captain of the Serenity, and Jane is doing the Janiest things. I didn't notice as much Janiness in this one in my quick.
Oh no, it's all Jane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
it's
but
Jane.
I'm saying like Janiness, like I'm just gonna kill people because I'm Jane and I kill people, kind of Janiness. Like it was a little more logical Janiness.
Yeah. No, this first arc is very much Jane. You know, I mean, we get more flashbacks to him as a kid. We get him using those flashbacks as an idea to deal with the tax collector guys. And we get a big Jane surprise at the end. So I'm still, again, not the biggest fan of the artwork on this series. But that aside, I am enjoying the story and the writing. I like the nods to stuff like mentioning Shepherd Book and stuff like that. But it was a little bit of a slow issue. You know, I would like to have kind of moved a little faster. So, but yeah, it's continuing the overall story we've been seeing that is very Jane centric.
First of all, you're going to notice with a lot of these, some of these books had so many great covers. And I saw this one, I was like, yep, this is the one I'm going to choose. Now, with that being said, I've come to the conclusion that this book just isn't for me. I liked Firefly. I loved the movie Serenity. And I like other works from David M. Boer. But this was such a boring issue to me. It was so boring. The only saving grace to me was the small funny bits from Jane.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, there just wasn't enough of that. And even the ending, I know the ending should have been like this big shocking thing. But when I got to it, I was like, okay.
So what I'm hearing from Jay is that he wants to see Alan Tudyk die more. That's what I'm hearing from Jay.
No, I hate that's the only part of the movie I didn't like. That's the only part of the movie I didn't like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poor Wash.
Don't make me tell the Reavers joke.
This is a good
We'll just
book.
move on to Fox and Hare #1 from Vault Comics.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. I love the design of the characters, and the art worked really well for me. And the story, I mean, it's a first issue, so they don't like just hand you everything, but there's enough that you kind of start figuring out what's going on.
Yeah.
Enough to make me want to come back to the next one. I was really pleased with this one. This is the book I started this week's reading with. So it's that kind of good tone because I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be into this or not, but we'll read it and get it out of the way. And by the end of it, I'm like, okay, where's number 2? I'm ready for number 2. Get number 2, please.
Yeah, this one has been a book that my house has been waiting for. It's been on our radar for quite a bit. Really enjoyed it. It's got great art, a fast-paced story, super interesting concept. There's a bunch in there that, man, I can't wait for more issues to figure some of the things out that they use in this. You know, a little bitty side note. I noticed one of the characters, it's near the end of the book, had a Disney animal name, and their helmet was actually that of said animal.
Was it Fox?
No.
Wow.
It's the what is it? Is it the prime minute? Is it a minister?
Yeah.
The guy that's with him.
He was a prime minister, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The guy that's with him.
Yeah, he had a tiger on his helmet, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what his name was.
Raja.
All right. I see you.
I thought it was funny.
I do too. I see what you're going for. I see what you're trying to do there, Vault Comics.
Yeah.
But this, like a lot of Vault stuff, this was a really good book. I cannot wait for more. Cannot wait.
Yeah, I like the art style. This is Dan. Don't delete these from the server right away. I am going to go back through and read most of these books. With more in depth than I did the first time. I'm trying to do a lot, and something had to give, and it was I'm going to read these like I'm the Micro Machines guy. literally as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And I'd like to go back and dig.
I don't delete until the following Monday when I put up the next batch. And I always keep these. So if I delete one you want a copy of, or you're like, hey, can we go back a couple? I should have them still.
Yeah, I know. But it's one of those things this is one that, again, I think probably Jenna was the one who put me onto. Right? Like it was working with Jenna or Miss Jen, or we interviewed somebody from Vault who told me about it. I just don't remember. But this is a book that I've been hearing about for a really long time. And just looking at the way it all came together, Vault is one of these companies that I think has a really promising future. Like Behemoth, like SourcePoint, like Mad Cave, like some of these companies that you might not be as aware of them as you should be. There's a book out this week that we didn't get called Man-Child. And it's from a no pub, like there's no publisher listed on my list, but I'm like, this feels like one of those Ahoy books.
Mm-hmm.
And Ahoy is one of those companies that I think really has this promising future as an alt comic book company, or as a return to the underground.
Yeah.
I've been processing collection to get ready for convention, and I came across Zap Comics #1, which is, one of these underground alt comics from the 70s. And I'm like, and I'm reading it and I'm going, this feels like what Ahoy would publish today. Except way more boobs. Like way more. Like
it's a bad thing.
Like Karma by Dan Wickline has significantly less boobs than Zap Comics #1. And Karma is like 3 times the size.
Yeah, I couldn't show you the cards that came with this.
No. All right. Speaking of underground, Hellboy.
I was so jazzed when this one showed up in the review stuff.
Yes.
Because they normally don't send us Magnola's books. It's like you can review, but you can't review Mike's stuff. And I'm like, but when this popped up, I'm like, oh, hell yeah. I'm a Hellboy fan. I love the comics. I have all the trades. I love the movies, both sets. David Harbour's is good. Ron Perlman. I love the Tadstone animated movies they did. I'm on board with Hellboy. It's mythology, all that stuff. And this is a great, interesting little one-shot. Yeah, I don't know Hellboy.
One of the things that this book has been on my radar about is that it's Mike teaming up with Olivier Vatine.
Yeah.
Who is someone who got on my radar probably a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who was going to be working on Hellboy. Like, literally, it was Mirka Andolfo's Unsacred. And I'm looking this guy up, and it says, oh, he's doing a Hellboy book. And I'm going, yeah, okay, just shut up and take my money. So, now that this is here, I'm very excited for it. One of the books in my inventory that's going to convention this weekend is my first appearance of Hellboy.
Nice.
Well, my technically it's my second appearance of Hellboy, the John Byrne's Next Men.
Right.
But I have it priced so high that if someone's dumb enough to buy it, I can just buy 6 of them. Because don't really want to sell it.
Yeah.
Jay, are you a Hellboy aficionado?
No, I am not. But I am a Hellboy fan, just not as much as y'all. I love the movies, but I actually like the books more. Now, this story was good, but it felt like it could have used a little more build-up. Like the big fight that happens felt like it was a page, maybe 2. I just would have liked to seen a little bit more. It does though, after reading this, I remembered I was like, wow, we do have some Hellboy and BPRD trades around here. After reading this, I was like, man, I want to go back and read those, reread them, and then come back and read this one again.
Yeah.
Like, and I love the fact that I have never seen, unless it was fan art, I think I've said this before, I've never seen Hellboy drawn a different way. Hellboy to me always looks the same, no matter where I see him in comics. And I don't know if that's just a respect for Mike kind of thing or what it is, but I like the fact that he doesn't change. It doesn't feel like, at least from the stuff that I've read.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I actually read the book and then had to go back. It's like, wait, did Mike draw this or not? I mean, it didn't feel out of place at all. It felt like Hellboy to me through the entire thing. So there was no point that I thought, oh, this is someone else is doing it. So when I went back and looked, I'm like, oh no, it didn't. I knew it wasn't Mike's art, but it felt like Mike's art.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that creepy sexual attraction feeling you get to things that you shouldn't be sexually attracted to, all that kind of stuff. You know, so
guilty.
All right. Let's move on to this is a book that after we read issue number 1, I wasn't very high on, so I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about issue number 2.
Yep.
John Carter of Mars.
This is the one we talked about last week, wasn't it?
It was on the list last week and this week.
Did I read this book last week?
I don't think you must.
You're right, I did. I remember this cover now.
Yeah, because I said that I wish the art looked like the cover on this book.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember this. I'm remembering this.
Okay.
I don't remember things.
But again, it's listed for this week, so I don't know what happened. I remember uploading it last week. So.
Right, it's entirely possible. You know, it's one of those things where it's entirely possible that maybe it shipped to half the country last week, half the country this week, due to shipping delays. There's a whole bunch of reasons, but you know, you weren't here last week, Dan, to talk about it. So,
right.
Like to hear
what are your thoughts on it?
I'm finding the story interesting. You know, just give it a great review again. Nick, I got to be completely honest with you. I find the story interesting. I'm not in love with the art. It's not bad art. It doesn't work for the story for me, but I think the story is good. So if you're a John Carter fan, definitely pick it up. You know, it's taking John Carter in a very different place. You know, he's back on Earth, but he's able to tap into some of the powers that he has on Mars, which really fascinating because most of what he can do on Mars is based on the different gravitational setup. So that he's able to do it here on Earth really shows a difference, but he's also getting more pain when he does these things. He's getting more fatigue from it. So, but it is a good read. But again, the art doesn't feel like a John Carter story to me. You know, I'd love for Dave Acosta to do the whole book, but that's my thoughts on it. You know, sometimes art and story don't quite mesh up, and you know, we pointed that out quite a few times, like with that Ninjak series.
Yep, that's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah. I read it, loved the Ninjak series, didn't like and again, it's not a knock on the artist.
No.
Because it is good, consistent art. It just doesn't feel like art for a John Carter book. So.
All right. This is one that I remember reading some of this series before, but now that it's moved over and he's running at it now at Dark Horse, I'm excited to see what Bendis does with Pearl. Because didn't he have? If I'm not mistaken, wasn't this hasn't this been one of those books that's moved with him, publisher to publisher, a little bit?
I thought that's what Miss Jen was talking about on Minute to Skim It a little while ago when they talked about it.
Dan, do you know?
Sorry, I was distracted.
No, you're good. Pearl. Is this one of those books that's moved with Bendis several times? Like it was at Icon. It's been a few different places as Bendis has moved a little bit.
I believe it has. I'm not that familiar with the book. I was, I just saw Pearl, the issue 1, and it's actually the 3rd volume of Pearl.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it came out. What was the creator-owned imprint that was the? It was actually owned by Marvel, but it was
Icon. You're right. It was Icon.
Icon, and then was there maybe an Image volume? I feel like there was something in between when Bendis left Marvel, and now that there was a volume of this book that came out, and I can't remember where it was published from. So
yeah, I don't remember either. And like I said, I mean, like I went in thinking it was a new series, didn't realize that there was 2 previous ones.
Right, I'm gonna look it up.
I was a little confused.
I'm gonna look it up.
All right. So, Pearl, it's God. That's the thing, is it was very confusing. It's a Yakuza related story. I'm not even sure who Pearl is in this. Is she the girl obsessed with the tattoo artist, or is she the special agent, the ghost dragon?
I think she's the character when she was talking, threatening that guy that walked into the tattoo shop. You notice like the tattoo on her started glowing a little bit. I think that's her. But
okay.
This says, look, to me, this says from the creators of Jessica Jones, and I'm like, okay, from the creators of Jessica Jones, but not as good as Jessica Jones. And that's probably a bit harsh, and I thought this was a first issue. So that could be where I got all thrown off, because I thought it was a number 1 as well.
Yeah.
But it's almost like Sony saying from the studio that brought you No Way Home, here's Morbius.
Yeah.
I really dug the art, but the story was just crowded and random. And
what this really needed was what happened before paragraph.
Yeah.
And I looked for one. I didn't find one.
Yeah, so it looks like Sean is. It looks like Sean is right. Pearl has bounced around a little bit. It was always kind of published under the Jinx World imprint, which is Brian's personal imprint. Like his like, as opposed to calling it Bendis Publishing, it's called Jinx World. But now that everything is moving over to Dark Horse with the Jinx World stuff, this is where it's at. So, I could see this being like that week when we gave Jay all number 27s or whatever. And we're like, hey, why don't you come on the show? You've not read anything relevant here. And this is what we're doing to him now. This is what we all are jumping into with Pearl. I read some of the previous stuff, but it's been years. So I would be in that same, I'll be in that same boat too with you guys. It's just, I like that Bendis is going back to his bread and butter, which was this kind of grounded, supernatural kind of thing. And I hope that's what he continues with Pearl, because that's what it used to be. It used to be like what would have happened if Jessica Jones was more magical girl. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
All right. Something is Killing the Children, number 23. We're 23 issues in, and Dan, is this like the 3rd issue you've read?
Yep.
Me too.
and I'm interested
So
now.
it's just me
I
and
still haven't
Sean.
gone back. I still haven't gone back and read the earlier issues, and nothing happens in this issue. I mean, there's no fighting, no action. And I still liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I still came out of it going, okay, I see something's going on here. There's this guy helping her out. She's not part of a house anymore. Okay. All right. There's that creepy lady coming in and kills that. Okay, I'm good. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm now understanding the hype for this book because it really is interesting. It gets you engaged, but yet nothing happens at all. And you walk out of it going, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I mean, it is just like you, Dan. This is my first time reading it. These last 3 issues, they are really good. The only thing I will add to that is I am ready to see a monster. I'm ready to see a monster because I didn't have the benefit, like a lot of people in my house, of reading and actually seeing the monsters. So, this is like, okay, really good story, but show me a monster, please. Please show me a monster. I think the stuff with Gabby probably could have been left out. It kind of felt like it was a, hey, remember, this person is still in the story, but it didn't feel like it moved the story any further with that. Just to let you know, hey, this person's still here.
Yeah, but, I imagine jumping in 20 issues in, you guys jumped in on issue 20. It's like reading Batman and hearing them talk about the Joker, but never actually seeing him. Like it's a little disappointing. And I will say this, because this is one that I slowed down on when I was going through. I made this comment to somebody the other day about Tinian. The dude is doing so much that I feel like on several things, we just have issues where he's writing for his life. Where it's, I have another issue to put out of this. Let me fill with something.
Mm-hmm.
But because Tinian is on such a hot streak, even his filler issues are better than most.
True.
And that's kind of what this felt like to me, right? Like this is give me a week, give me another issue and I'll get her back, in gear. I just need a minute in neutral here. And even in neutral, this book, it just absolute kicks ass.
Yeah.
So
I kind of feel like this was not so much a filler as okay, we got to catch up new readers.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Like I said, maybe not a filler, but it's an issue that's in neutral. You're not driving ahead. You're not backing up. You're just kind of holding. So, all right. Let's go over to TMNT 129. This is the retailer incentive, not the best cover, in my opinion.
It was
the
so
B
hard
cover is the best cover.
It was so hard to choose, though. All these covers look great.
Right. No,
and this in for Kyle.
Right. And so just so you guys know, and I say this, I'm making fun of Jay a little bit. The B cover of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is always the Kevin Eastman cover. So if you're a fan of Kevin Eastman art, the B cover is always the Kevin Eastman drawn cover. And sometimes they're the best covers, and sometimes they're just turtles, and they're not really the best covers. So, it's just something to note. So because I'm the only active turtle here, we just had kind of this return of Venus, who was really the first female turtle, and we're jumping into this kind of new phase with the punk frogs, and everything is leading towards this big thing that's coming this summer from the turtles. So when you jump in, if you jump in here, you might feel like you're kind of at a low breath. But just know they're catching their breath before they launch this new big wave this summer.
They've been catching their breath for a while, haven't they?
They just had the two Venus issues, which were pretty good.
Is she the Frankenstein monster one?
No, but also kinda. Not specifically originally. And I don't think that was the analogy they wanted you to make, but it's kind of how she felt the last couple of issues.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's the Bride of Donatello.
This was a cool story. The doctor in there is the stuff of nightmares, though. What? Not
Dr. Barlow?
Yeah. Not having read a ton of Turtles in my lifetime. I mean, I've read Batman, Ninja Turtles, when Turtles team up with people. I've read things like that. Not a whole lot of this story. But I'm like 120 some odd issues behind. I do have a lot of questions, though. Like, about the punk frogs. Ralph always looking like he's in black. Why did a certain person help them? Who are some of these newer characters? But I mean, I love the Turtles, so even with all the questions, I still enjoyed the book. I was kind of lost for a little bit of it, but it's the Turtles. For me, you can't really go too wrong with them.
True.
I don't have much on this one. It's I've been trying. I've been trying to get into it because I know Kyle loves the Turtles, and I want to be able to bring him on the show more. I know it's like a pet thing for him. I'm just not that guy. I'm not the turtle guy. I mean, maybe these aren't for me. I don't know, but
I think Turtles had to hit you, right, at a certain age, a certain way. And you're right, it probably isn't, Dan. I mean, it ain't for everybody. And I will cop to this. I would say that IDW's Turtles run, the last 130 issues or so, have been the most sort of generic-y Turtles that have ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
There have been some brilliant and amazing parts, but then there have been some parts that have been, I guess we have to put out a Turtles book. So I understand that. And this is my kind of, I have nothing that would tell me that this is true. I think they're bringing it to a landing. They're going to have this big event this summer, and if it doesn't spark off,
mm-hmm.
I think they're going to bring her in and kind of set her down and focus on doing more specific mini-series like Last Ronin, which was incredible. Instead of doing a 130-issue run, do 5 perfect issues twice a year.
I look at the Rat King special that came out and how it focused on the 4 turtles.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if the problem is that it's not really a Turtles book anymore. It's so focused on everything else that's going on that, maybe the way to, maybe the way to bring it back is to go back to when it was the 4 turtles again, boil it back down to the core of the series instead of, focusing on all the mutagen bomb and all that other stuff. Maybe it's time to, boil it back down to basics.
Right. Maybe it's time to get rid of New Coke.
Yeah. It's so convoluted. There's so many and the art doesn't differentiate enough between the characters that it's clear who's who.
Right.
It's like, well, okay, Donatello was captured. Raphael's wearing black now, yet there were 3 turtles together, and I couldn't figure out who the third one was. And I think, okay, maybe it's that other female turtle whose name I can't even remember at this point.
Jenica.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, is that it just, maybe they've gotten so big and confusing that it's not approachable from anybody who isn't a huge fan, who hasn't been reading it forever.
All right. Well, let's, right. I mean, I think we could probably dig deeper into this, as things happen, but I think we're going to need to look at it this summer when the Mutant War happens. But in the meantime,
did this feel like a final issue to you guys?
A little bit.
I loved it. Thought it was great. I think if it isn't the final issue of Harbinger, and we know that's how Valiant works. They do these 8, 10, 12 issue series, then they wrap up, and then another book comes out, and this book, and they kind of rotate their titles so as always to be fresh.
Right.
This was really a strong series. And if it is wrapping up, it makes sense that it wraps up here because the main story arc does come to a conclusion at this point. Though I found the ending a little strange in that I wasn't sure if the guy we see at the end is Peter or Renegade. I think it was Renegade. But again, I don't know if it was Peter taking a secret identity or Renegade kind of being turned into this person. But spoiler, sorry. But other than that, I thought it's a really good book. The art's good. The art got a little confusing on me on this one because CC looks different. It's hard to keep track of all. But overall, I really love this series. It's been a really good story.
Triple B is right. This is the last of the series. There is no solicitation for a 9th issue.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I really like this, but I need to go back and read the first part of it. Just to figure out, like, it was easy enough to figure out what was going on. But this has been so good, I kind of I want to go back and read the whole thing now. Faith was used very well in this. It didn't feel like she overstayed her welcome. I do like the fact that it pretty much was just Faith. It wasn't like, well, here comes Bloodshot, or here comes Ivar Time Walker, or here comes this, or here comes that. They used her really well. And like I said, this has been great, but now I need to read the whole thing.
Yeah, her being brought in was very natural. It made sense to the story. The fact that Peter was back, somebody from Harbinger had to show up. And she was the most obvious candidate. So, yeah, that made a lot of sense. But, all right, we got, one more book?
That's all I have here. Are we missing one?
Godzilla versus Mighty Morphin Power Rangers #3.
Thought I had a picture in there.
Nope. Can we all just agree that Godzilla wins?
This was a total kaiju battle. The whole thing was a kaiju battle. And I mean, there was not even a moment of, okay, we're going to take a break and sit. From page 1 to page 22 was a single battle. And
there we go.
Yeah. Still really liking the art on this. it feels like a Power Ranger series. It feels like the TV show. The dialogue, all of that, it's that campy after school thing that we used to watch, Adding in the Godzilla franchise hasn't really changed that. It's not suddenly a Godzilla movie with the Power Rangers in it. It's the Power Rangers with Godzilla popping up.
Yeah.
But it's entertaining. I mean, it's silly entertaining. It doesn't make you think. You read through, you get to see the giant battles, and that's pretty much it. It has all the action that the other books we talked about didn't. They all went to Godzilla this week. Just 22 pages of kaiju fighting.
I say every time we get a Cullen Bunn book, Cullen Bunn does no wrong, but Freddie Williams II's art and Andrew Dahlhouse's colors steal the show for this book.
Oh, yeah.
This book could have no words, and I would still buy it just to stare at it.
Yep.
I love this art. I love the coloring. This, when you read it, though, it feels like a bigger budget, multiversal crossover with Godzilla Power Rangers episode. And I'm completely here for that. I've never watched past regular Power Rangers. It's always just been, just Power Rangers. And reading this book, I'm like, man, I need to find out where I can binge Power Rangers and just watch Power Rangers all over again.
Skip Turbo.
Skip Turbo?
Power Rangers Turbo.
I just want a virtual VR3. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It had a great theme
I might
song.
skip that one too. It had a great theme song, but I might skip that one too.
Yeah, I think that's all that was good about it was the theme song, but
yeah, that theme song was fire.
Yes.
But yeah. So, guys, if you are out and about in your everyday life, head over to
VR
Comic Shop.
Troopers.
Yeah, VR Troopers, yes.
Yeah.
If you are out and about in your everyday life, head over to comicshoplocator.com. Type in the zip code for the area in which you will be, and it will tell you where there are comic shops in that area for you to visit. Make sure you do that. Give them a call. Go check out comic shops. Make sure you head into your local comic shop and pick up your pull list this week and every week. Next week we will be back, Dan, Jay, and I, and hopefully we will all have the same level of preparedness that we normally bring you.
Next week, none of us are going to read it.
Right. Next week, we're going to read every book backwards. So we will
We'll just start doing
how that goes.
We'll just start doing Miss Jen's format. We'll randomly pick one of the books and skim it while the other person's talking and just go through it.
When I'm the most prepared one, we're kind of in trouble.
Yes, Dan, that's how we originally did this show, right? I was preparing my next book to talk about while Nick was talking about the book he was talking about, and then,
This show is very different than when it started, for the fact that I'm here and Nick isn't. Yeah, and now we've got Jay. I mean, we had guests for a while.
Right, we had guests in the old days. We didn't read anything.
No. We just read like solicitations. We covered Marvel, DC, and yeah,
it was bad.
So I miss those days.
I don't.
I've had to read some bad books.
Yeah,
I didn't have to read bad books back then.
Right, but then we also didn't get to read the good ones.
No, these people still send me the books to review. I don't know why. This is all because of when I used to work at Bleeding Cool.
Right.
Yeah, you get on a mailing list, you don't get off of it forever.
It's true.
I still get people sending me, hey, do you want this movie trailer? Hey, do you want to talk to this director?
Yes. We have another show where you can do that. So
2-hour Dan Wickline.
All right, guys. Yeah, Dan will be back tomorrow with the Dan Wickline show.
Yep, and at some point I'll figure out a topic.
Yes, the rest of us will be back at some point in the future. So for Dan and Jay, I've been Kyle. Have a good week, everybody.
Check out Kyle at the comic convention this week, Cherry City Comic Con this week.
Cherry Capital this weekend. Amazing Comic Con next weekend. So we'll see everybody then. All right.
And everybody.